So thank you all very much for coming back to the Delta for this special occasion. If you have not checked it out yet, there is a brand new exhibit over in the CAPS building. You should have a program of events for the day in your chair. If you have any questions, you can ask me or Cameron Chow, who is outside at the registration desk. I think Frida Kwan, who is a retiree. She knows her way around campus pretty well too. And we should all stick together. We'll find our way through the day, okay? We'll be good. I'm going to turn the podium over to the president of the board, Mississippi Delta Chinese Heritage Museum Board, Gilroy Chow, and I'm going to turn on the microphone. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay, thank you. All you.
Good. I want to welcome everybody here. Thank Emily for putting this program together. We're quite fortunate to have somebody like Emily to lead us in our museum endeavors. But the program is called ReEntry Mississippi. Why ReEntry Mississippi? Because welcoming everybody back to the Mississippi Delta, people with Delta roots. People ask, why are we celebrating the 50th anniversary of Apollo on this particular occasion? Well, I mentioned last night that Apollo was a successful moon landing program, and it was done in an iterative process. Started out with 1 man in space, 2 men in space, 3 men going to the moon. Well, so it is with our lives. It's an iterative process. So we started out as babes and children, and we were raised by parents. And the other thing that we have in common besides our Mississippi roots is that there were grocery stores in Mississippi. And that's really, we're the Mississippi Delta Chinese Heritage Museum. We call it that because it's about growing up in Mississippi. Really back before the turn of the last century, we had Chinese settlers in Mississippi, and in particular the Mississippi Delta. And as Sally and I traveled the country, people say, "You're from Mississippi?" I can't tell you how many times we've heard that question asked, because people do not realize. They think of Chinese as being in New York or LA or California. But here in Mississippi, we had our beginnings. So we'll talk more about that later, my own story. But you know, as I look across the room, I see different parts of the Mississippi Delta represented. So it was a welcoming back, and so we've had that time. But we'll talk more about that later. The grocery store created the place where we had our beginnings, and so welcome back to Mississippi. Let me have President LaForge, Bill LaForge, to come and make a few remarks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and I add my welcome and good morning to everyone. Glad that you're here. I'll just hold on to this, I guess. This is a thrilling occasion for Delta State, and we welcome you all here for the first time, for those of you who are first-comers or who are returning. It has been our pleasure, our delight, over the many years since 2011 when we opened the exhibit at the archives to celebrate this important part of the Delta, this important part of our collective culture. It was doubly important to me and the mayor, Billy Nowell, and I were classmates with some of your brothers and sisters and relatives. I'm going to let him do that part of the routine this morning, but we have great memories of them because they were all great students, and some of us bought too many Kool-Aid straws in your stores. Had a whole lot of sugar when we were young children, stopping off on the way to school or after school. So this is very much a personal experience for me. I grew up here in Cleveland. I spent a lot of time. Alex Lee was a pitcher with me in baseballs, and the Moon and I were classmates, and Billy's going to expound on that a little bit more. We're thrilled to have you here for a couple of reasons. One is to celebrate the culture and the importance of that culture here in the Delta. bringing that back and making sure that today's generations understand the importance and significance of what you have done and what your families brought to the Delta more than 100 years ago. I've had the privilege of traveling to China numerous times, and I've always bragged about you. And people, just like Hubbard said, you know what, Mississippi? Explain that to us. And so we would have great conversations about that. Our heritage here in the Delta is tied together, and more this is becoming a smaller world, and you all are helping us understand that. Secondly, and more importantly, is the celebration, I think, today of what many of you and your relatives and family friends did to contribute to the space exploration of the United States. You know, with our documenting year-long history here in the Delta, this brings another chapter to what I think is important. It was, again, important to my dad. My dad was a China scholar here at the campus. He taught Chinese history, he studied China, he traveled abroad. And many of you all probably have had him in school if you went to Delta State or you knew him. We're glad that you're here, and we're glad that we're having the opportunity today to celebrate the wonderful contributions that many of you have made to particularly the Apollo mission. And I will refer you to a little special thing. If you'll go online today, the Delta State website, we have a special fireside chat. I do a weekly 5 to 10 minute blog type thing online, and Emily and I did one the other day for you. And so if you go online, it celebrates this event today. So it came out about an hour ago. And if you will go online, you've got a perpetual memory then of this event. I bring to you, other than greetings from myself, a special set of greetings that Emily and I kind of kept to ourselves, because we weren't sure we were going to be able to make it happen. But she and I were co-conspirators in trying to make sure I got word to a fellow who just by chance happens to be my best friend in Washington, D.C., where I spent 37 years of my career before coming back here as president. He happens to be the deputy director, deputy administrator at NASA. And he has a letter for you this morning that he's asked me to read. And we will later make copies of this letter so that you all have one to take with you. Dear honorees, on behalf of NASA, I extend my sincerest and heartfelt gratitude to you, dream makers, who labored on the razor's edge of possibilities by helping to support our nation in one of its greatest adventures, the Apollo mission to the moon in 1969. As the 50th anniversary of that momentous occasion nears, I commend you for the endless hours of time spent away from your families in order for man to set foot safely on the moon's surface. I have the utmost respect for your creativity and steadfastness in the face of uncharted algorithms, innovative design, and untested theories that served our nation well to achieve one of its earliest goals in space. You are a generation undaunted by the limitations of Earth, gravity, or the unexplored. Your beginnings may have been of humble origin, but the spirit of your parents, the sojourners who sank roots deep into the Delta decades ago in Mississippi in order that you could grow and become something greater than they themselves could even imagine, is evident in your drive, your determination, and your successes. You have collectively and individually accomplished so much professionally in service to the nation's space program. Today, I salute you for your commitment and achievements. I trust that each of you will take great pride in your dedication to the space program and derive gratification for a job well done. You may have grown up dreaming of the stars, but it is because of you and your tremendous efforts that others may now play among the stars. On behalf of a grateful nation, congratulations and thank you. Sincerely, James W. Morehard, Deputy Administrator of NASA.
Very impressive, President Ford. Welcome to Cleveland. Many of y'all spent many years here in younger days, and I think you may, as you have come around in the last day or so, seen a new Cleveland. We're really proud of all the progress that we've had here in Cleveland, and we're proud to have y'all in Cleveland today, and we hope you enjoy your stay here. And I know you will, because Emily does such a great job, Principal Forge does such a great job. It's just gonna be a great 2 days for all of us. But I would like to speak on the heritage that I think so much of, and that is the Chinese heritage that we have around here. President Forge made mention of all our many classmates, and we did have so many classmates that were so special to us. And I know all the Moon families here except Jimmy, and I will, but he did make our 50-year class reunion. He's a great friend and a great guy. But I would like to make a reference to when we were in high school together. It was President Forge was in class, and Jimmy Moon was in class, and I walked in a minute late, and there's a seat by both of them. I chose to sit by Jimmy Moon. Now, this is not a dig on President Forge. He was probably in the top 5 in our class, and we had 145 in our class, and I was in the more like the 40 or 45 range. But anyway, Jimmy Moon was salutatorian, if I remember correctly, of our class. So valedictorian. Oh, George Rich is number 2 then. Okay. Well, anyway, valedictorian. I beg your pardon. Well, anyway, my choice was to sit by Jimmy Moon because he and I were such close friends. I felt like if the teacher asked a question, if I looked at Jimmy, I'd have a lot better chance because I knew President Ford would just turn his head the other way, even if he knew the answer. Anyway, I'm making light of that, but I'm going to tell you, y'all's heritage means so much to us, and I really wish that my children and grandchildren had the great times together with the Chinese heritage that we had, because y'all mean so much to us, and it means so much that y'all have come back, and we're going to do this museum. And Cleveland, Mississippi is going to be a big part of that. Anything we can do to make the museum better, we're going to do. Anything we can do to make your stay here in Cleveland better. We appreciate you, and God bless each and every one of you.
Good morning. I want to first apologize. This is not my voice. I'm dealing with sinuses this morning. But my name is Dr. Tamla Washington, and I am the Human Capital Developer for Congressman Benny Thompson. And welcome to the 2nd Congressional District. And for those of you who have lived in our Delta communities, I want to welcome you back home. I, like you, share 2 places that I can call home. Born and raised in Chicago, educated and raised in the Mississippi Delta, having received my master's from Delta State University. I understand what it means to celebrate, to embrace and preserve history and culture. Right now, I'm celebrating with you because Alfred Kwong, Leadway as we call him, is a member of our community, his family. I can remember as a child going to Leadway, running through the field that sat adjacent to my house to get something for my mother. Not only am I now realizing how important having Leadway was to our community, my mother didn't send me with any money. But all I knew was to go to the store. So when I got to the store, I didn't even have to mention my name. As a child, I'm not even understanding this. But I would get what my mother wanted, and I would go home. Then when I got grown, I understood. He was giving us credit. He knew my face. He knew my mother. He knew my grandfather, and he knew everybody in town. So I understand, and I get it. That's why I'm so grateful to be here to help you celebrate your culture, your history, your contribution, not just to Apollo, but to the Delta. Right now in Shaw, where I currently live, I'm working with Emily, and we're celebrating the African American culture and history and contribution to the Delta. So much so that when we started researching it, we realized there's no independent culture. There's a conglomeration of everyone's contribution. So we've been searching for documents, pictures, and everything to celebrate everybody's contribution to Shaw. And I'm proud to say I think we've been doing very good with that. Delta State, I want to thank you guys in advance because Shaw's a small town. If you have not been back to Shaw, come through and visit us and you'll see what we're talking about. But we realize the contribution of Delta State so much because I visited the exhibit that they have for you. They're going to house our exhibit. And our exhibit is going to be inclusive of all of the cultures and ethnic groups. It's going to be right there at Delta State University. So I'm proud of that, and I get it. And I want to thank you all, the light there. So I want to thank you all for coming home, recognizing and participating in what we call the Delta, the contributions of all ethnic groups to the Delta. I work here in the Delta, the district, with the congressman, and so I get to travel throughout this area and visit the stores, visit the communities, talk to different people, and continue to learn myself. So I want to ask you, when you get a chance, if you're not in a hurry when you leave, come visit us in Shaw and see the work that we're currently producing with Emily on Shaw's history and culture. Thank you. Yes, sir, you have a question?
This is Alpha's sister.
Oh my God. I want to talk to you after. Thank you all.
Good morning. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Will Hooker, and I serve as the county administrator for Bolivar County. And let me start by saying, I may not look it, but I'm old enough to remember the way your culture integrated into the African American community. I grew up here in Cleveland, a little bit down from Christmas Street. And as Dr. Washington said, I can remember that I don't think our community could have made it without your contributions. Your story is an inspirational story of hard work ethic. And I got that, and my parents, I want you to know that if you have never been told, there were many African Americans that marvel at your work ethic. My parents was one that said that because the store was always open. Now, I don't know what that meant for the kids, but the store was always available. And so as I got older, you realize that took a lot of hard work. And maybe that's why we don't have third and fourth generation of store owners, because the kids, I don't know if that was the reason, but I don't know how our communities could have made it. So to the ones that are returning home, we're so glad that you still call Bolivar County or the Mississippi Delta home, because we have so much to offer that a lot of people don't know how deep the roots run here in Bolivar County or in the Mississippi Delta. I want to say to the ones that are returning, I want to bring you greetings on behalf of your Bolivar County Board of Supervisors, and to let you know we are still a community where people care about their neighbors and take time to share with each other the benefits of living here. We're a community that takes pride in our people, our school, and our business, and our many recreational opportunities. Those things have not changed. We're dedicated, all working together with our different cultures to make Bolivar County better, because we know working together is the only way we can continue to grow Bolivar County. We're a community where hospitality and personality resonate like nowhere else. So I just want to say to you, and I want to say to Delta State University, which is my alma mater, that they have preserved so much of our history. And if we don't tell the story of our history, who's going to do it? If we don't have pride in our history, who's going to do it? So I salute you today for coming out and making sure that your voices are heard. And I want you to know that we celebrated with you. We're proud of your contributions with you, and we thank you for your contributions. Thank you.
My name is Sammy Chow, past commander of the American Legion
Cooper Yoga Post 28 in Clarksdale. I served as chief pharmacist in the Mississippi Air National Guard there, and I like to, in Jackson, Mississippi, did I say that? Okay, right. I want to start by thanking all the veterans that are here today. Are there any veterans out here that are among us? Okay. First of all, I'd like to recognize the World War II veterans. Any of those able to stand? Okay. Now, I'd like to recognize y'all by giving me, first of all, I want you to give me your name, what branch of service, and where you were stationed. Okay? Now, if you are, have to remind you that my wife informed us that I'm hard of hearing. So if you will speak loudly so I'll be able to hear who you are, please raise your hand. Okay. Vic? Vic?
I'm Vic.
Stand up. Turn around.
I'm Vic Jim. I'm from Cleveland, Mississippi. But I was in the Army and my basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Okay. Thank you for your service, Vic.
Thank you.
Next one.
I'm Gary Farm. I served at Fort Bragg, Fitzsimmons, and Fort Ord, California. And I was a major in the Army Medical Corps.
Thank you for your service. Next.
I'm from Louisville, Mississippi. I'm in the U.S. National Guard. I was in basic training in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and Fort Leonard Wood, and most of my time was in the stateside. Been known as called out from the James area. I'm with the whole business. This is one exciting thing in my career.
Hey, Fort Leonard Wood, that's a prison over there, isn't it? Okay, just checking. Okay, just checking. Thank you for your service, George. Any others?
My name is James Joe. I'm originally from Baltimore. I was in the Marine era. I was stationed at Senor San Francisco, 6th Army headquarters. About 20.
Thank you for your service, Edward. Any others?
Max Arthur Chow, 223rd Combat Engineers, Clarksdale, during the Vietnam era.
Thank you for your service.
Chuck Powell from Greenville, Mississippi. I served in Marine Corps, Louisville, from Vietnam, 1967, 68. I'm finished up at the Paris Island, South Carolina, at Marine Corps Air Station, Beaufort.
Thank you for your service. Any others?
I wasn't in the service, but I'm going to stand on behalf of my son, Lieutenant Colonel Keith Joe. He passed away 2 years ago. He was an orthopedic surgeon in the U.S. Air Force, 42 years old. Served 2 years, we served 2 tours in the Middle East, and he was trained by the military as an orthopedic surgeon. Went to the Naval Hospital for his medical school training and did his orthopedic residency at Kirtland Air Force Base. But he was on active duty at Andrews Air Force Base for 7 years. Finished up all his medical school training and was based in Afghanistan and Iraq. He had a tour in Qatar as well. So he had 17 years in the military when he passed away. And that was 2.5 years ago.
We thank you for his service. I want to remind everyone here I want to remind everyone here of the Chinese American World War II Veterans Recognition Project. If you never heard of this, the website is www.caww2.org. Now, the mission of this project is to recognize, honor, and celebrate the military service of Chinese Americans who fought during World War II. If you have a loved one who has served during World War II, please fill out the form online. The mission of the project is to recognize and to honor and celebrate the military service of these Chinese Americans who fought during World War II. Now, if you have a loved one who has served during World War II, please fill out the form online. They're designing a special medal, Congressional Medal of Honor, which will be given to the family in memory of their service. Now, I know y'all didn't have a pencil to write down the website. So, I have it written down for you. Now, if you would like to have this website, please raise your hand as one of my able assistants will come and pass this out.
I can definitely make sure we're at the table.
Okay.
I'll do this for you.
Thank you. Your efforts will capture and preserve and create a database of all their contributions and ensure that the achievements of the greatest generation will never be forgotten. Now, Gilmore, is there anything else I'm supposed to say at this time? Okay.
One of the things that we've had done at the museum is created a legacy wall to recognize those people that have supported the museum. Where is Harry? Right here. Good. Harry is the treasurer of the Mystic Adult Chinese Heritage Museum.
Thank you, Gil. Good morning.
Good morning.
I think the last time I was behind a lectern like this was about 5 years ago. And 5 years ago we had a reunion where Mississippi State was ranked #1 and Ole Miss was in the top 5. And that drew the loudest applause of the whole reunion. It was amazing back then, what our state was able to create, and kind of bring it back to you here. I am challenged with letting you know about the essence of the legacy wall.
I've just got
Okay, well,
Good.
anyway, Emily's going to show maybe some aspects of what has happened in the past, but what I'm going to do is bring you maybe the steps involved and the essence of the wall itself, okay? My name is Harry Gum. I'm a descendant of the Gong clan of Marigold, Mississippi. And I believe that if you ever drive down Highway 61, you'll still see the Gong signage in Marigold. I'm currently an officer on the board of directors serving in the capacity of treasurer. And I believe that many of you have received acknowledgments from me for your gifts, donations, and membership renewals. There's a familiar phrase that I always accompany in each letter to you, and this phrase is, as we move forward with the Chinese Museum project, we will realize the importance in preserving our history and maintaining the memories of those who came before us. And with this in mind, that we've taken steps in honoring you, the givers and donors who make this NDCHM Museum a reality. I am also the editor of our newsletter, and for me it's much easier for me to pen this presentation rather than deliver a fluid oratory speech. I'm by no means a silver-tongued orator. Therefore, I'm going to read my editorial as though I'm presenting it in our newsletter. An idea of creating a legacy wall was birthed shortly after 2017 reunion. An illuminated stainless steel representation was established and installed in the stairwell between the second and third floor of the CAPS Archive and Museum, with the prospect of eventually honoring those individuals with recognition as donors in support of the museum's efforts. It was early this year that the idea of a donor wall recognition was implemented. After the board's first meeting in January of this year, a committee was formed to bring this idea to fruition. And with the assistance of 3 other board members, we were able to gather this information, categorize the intentions of each donation, and render an acceptable representation for display. I'd like to recognize 3 individuals who helped to make this legacy wall something to be proud of. Jeannie Dunn, who spent endless hours in updating our donor database. Can you stand if I have mentioned your name? I just want to point out these individuals who really helped to make this legacy wall something to be proud of. Miss Jeannie Dunn, back in the back. Okay. I also have Frida Kwan, who made countless phone calls and emails to past donors. I think a lot of you have received a lot of communications from Frida. And Jean Maskus, who helped in investigating businesses that could help create this family wall. As you recall, in the donor forms that you filled out, we had 5 categories of giving. There was Pearl, which was $250, Avery, which was $500, Jade, $1,000, Silver, $5,000, and Gold Mountain, $10,000. Representation would be cumulative with regards to timely giving, and this allows individuals to climb the donor ladder. So you can be Pearl at the end of 1 year, but progress to Avery or above with subsequent years of giving. Within the planning stage, there was a change in the wall's categories as 2 additional designations were incorporated. Because there was such a wide gap between Jade and Silver, between $1,000 and $5,000, the category of bronze was created. Also, after the monetary data was accumulated, it was noted that some individuals had given over $20,000. So the category of diamond, which is $20,000, was also created. Thus, at the end, we have 7 categories of giving which would be represented. After much discussion and thought regarding the choices of how the donor wall would be represented, the board finally approved of the business from Tigerville, Tennessee, to create our display, a company called Sign Magic. The management team there stated that with the dimensions that were presented, the project could very well be completed and within our budget. Everyone was excited that we would have a custom design creation. Our intention was to have this display rendered before our ReEntry Mississippi 2019 reunion. We absolutely cut that deadline as close as possible, as the finishing touches on the installation was just completed this past Friday, just a couple of days ago. It should be noted that some incorrect data, such as misspellings and possible omissions, will be corrected, as there was little or no time for proofing. We've been assured that those corrections will be made. There are 93 representations of donors indicated at their levels of giving. Thanks to Jeannie Dunn's efforts in tracking donations for 2019, we can inform you that over $27,000 have been received for this year. The legacy wall would also represent any and all individuals who served on our board of directors since its inception. It must be noted that these individuals give their time, their efforts, and ideas primarily at their own expense. We've had 26 members who served on the board. There is representation On the wall, in loving memory, which pays tribute to those lives in passing, those who came before us, and many who were the foundation to which our museum represents. There are 27 individuals noted here, and we look forward to many more additions as members seek that their giving can bring names of loved ones in passing to be represented. You will note that on our wall, representations can be as individual donors, in memoriam as signified by the holy crosses adjacent to the names of those who have passed, in honor of recognizing family businesses such as Joe Gal New Grocery or New Sang Grocery, or celebrations such as birthdays, graduations, or births. There are many ways that as a donor you can give and become recognized. The last item in creating our legacy wall display was choosing an everlasting caption for our legacy wall. The board recognized this caption, very simplistic and encompasses our thoughts and meaning in just a few words. Honoring our past, inspiring the future. It's been a long road in such a short period of time in attaining this, our legacy wall. We hope you will be pleased with this creation and representation as we, the members of the board, are. Thank you.
So rather than walking over to the museum, this is the official unveiling right now, and so you have a virtual tour right there of the wall, and so it's laser cut stainless steel and a modern design, and we thank you for your contributions, Harry. Thanks for that summary of the activities that went on to achieve it, but we'll so at this point we'll take a small break and just to refresh yourselves. There's coffee and there's snacks over there, and then immediately after that Peter will start the panel part of the program. Thank you.